Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Don't need that. It's early. It's cold. It's wet. It's like the Pacific Northwest. Going to talk to you this morning. Perhaps start a conversation with you all this morning on two different axes that are still kind of related. One is, again, where I see this going and adding another step to that. And then two, things you should do, things I recommend for you to carefully consider. But first, coffee. Pastor Joe, what are you going to do when you run out of coffee? Deal with it. But they got to have a much bigger lockdown than we're currently under for me to run out of coffee. Just saying. Coffee is not on my list. Y'all are keeping a list, right? You should have a list at your place, wherever your place is, your computer desk, your place at the table, whatever, where you write things to rectify. And more coffee is not on my list. We're good. Milk is. I've actually been dreaming about milk. I guess we're diverging before we start. Right before we went into our hard lockdown, we started with 3 gallons of milk. This is just for Sister Kate and I. And that lasted a fair while. And we actually kind of rationed it a little bit. But we tried to buy Parmalat, which is the shelf-stable, in the cardboard containers milk, during our soft lockdown, and we were too slow on that one, which is probably just as good. It was probably moms with babies buying it, or small children, right? So that's okay, they can have it. But when this all ends and I can restock, assuming it does, dun dun dun, we're gonna get a fair amount of Parmalat. I haven't checked on my goat yet. They're both due to kid. And then they have to feed their babies for a little while. But then after that, we should be getting some milk. And we'll probably bottle feed these kids. You get more milk if you bottle feed them. I don't want to go into that right now. It's going to be long enough as it is. All right. Excuse me. Where I see this going. First two I've talked about. We have new people. So welcome aboard, new Vikings. I think you're going to like it here. Real quick, just be cool to each other. We don't score points. You can disagree once. After that, stop the conversation, take it offline, private mail or whatever with each other. Don't want to see the back and forth. Once you've made a point, you've made your point. You don't need to keep hitting it 30 different times on different posts or replies to comments or whatever. It's irritating. Don't do it. No links in the comments, please. You can put all the links you want in the community section to your heart's content. All right. Where I see this going, economic downturn, right? We talked about that. Calamity, catastrophe, who knows? I'm not an economist. I'm not your financial advisor. But it seems to me that the economy is going to take a hit. Perhaps the worldwide economy, on the scale of the Great Depression. And so you need to think about you and yours and your circles in a Great Depression. What's that going to look like? And what steps can you take now to mitigate that? We'll talk about that in the second part of this video. What do huge economic downturns lead to? Many times, war. It's a great way to take the people's mind off of problems at home, and instead of focusing their wrath on the government, they focus it on the other. I do think war's coming. I know war's coming with China eventually. It's coming. I've been saying this for now probably 25 years. And for as long as I've been saying it, I've been saying, let's start it. Honestly, let's start the war. If a war is coming, If one accepts that premise that a war is coming with China, let's start and win it now. Because we're not getting that much stronger. Relative to us, China is getting stronger every day. So if we're going to fight, let's fight them while they're weaker. We're kind of losing the bubble on that one. I think war's coming with China. Russia, don't know. Don't know. I think Trump gets along okay with Russia. Okay. Hillary would have already had us in a war with Russia. Guaranteed. So that's coming. Read, for those of you who haven't yet. I hit the same things over and over because, well, like I told my kids, they're important. Sir John Glubb, Fate of Empires. You can find it on the internet. You can find the PDF for free. It's about 25, 29 pages, something like that. Read it, and you'll understand where this is going. We are not going to be the big dog anymore. Matt Bracken put out a interesting piece recently where he says China is looking at it as in we're about to go down economically, and then all our people are going to turn their wrath onto the government. Therefore, to prevent that, we're going to do these other things. And he said they're going to start sending help in the form of workers to Africa and Asia and South America and get footholds and basically colonize with a locust swarm of Chinese males, which they have a lot more males than females. And so they'll tell them, go there, find wives, and things like that. We'll see. We'll see. So I've talked about those two here before. Economic downturn, huge. And war. We'll talk about what you should do about war, second part of this video. There's another thing coming. And I've talked about it in the past, but not in this context. Tribes. The balkanization of the United States. You're starting to, and then within the balkanized areas, the 10 nations of North America, or 9 nations of North America. It was an interesting book that came out a long time ago. Within that, tribes will form. Warlords will appear of one form or another. We have warlords today. You just might not realize it. It's human nature. Yeah, the balkanization of the U.S. is already kind of going on. You know, you're seeing people in Maine drop trees across the driveway of these interlopers from New Jersey who just don't get it and don't do the right thing according to our culture here in Maine. And so they suffer the consequences. Somebody took me to task on that and said, sounds like you said they deserve it and breaking the law. Let's just say I can understand why it happened. How about that? And what it is what it is. Doesn't matter, coulda, shoulda, woulda. That's not fair. It's not right. It's not legal. It happened, and it'll happen again, and it will get worse if people don't listen. And they're not. And that's the balkanization. That's what's happening. We're from here. You're not. You're the other. Get out. And that'll happen everywhere. You know, people from New York are fleeing down to Florida. Does Florida even have a culture anymore? I know North Florida does. But Southern Florida, spoken like an ignorant Ozarkian there, PJ. I'm sure it does have a culture. I just don't know how the New Yorkers fit into it very strongly. There's a lot of retired New Yorkers in Florida, but, you know, I don't know. But there's problems there, right? People resent these perceived sick people coming into their area. Somebody posted that, you know, the highways coming out of New York City were clogged with people trying to escape New York. Escape from New York? Is that what it was called? Kurt Russell movie? But you're starting to see that. You're starting to see people who are in relatively safe areas resent people who aren't, you know, from around there showing up. So yeah, I think the country could break up. But what's coming is tribes. And here's why tribes are coming. If we go into, assuming I'm right, if we go into economic hardships and everything kind of goes and grinds to a, if not a halt, a very slow movement, people are going to get more local. They're going to have to. They're going to turn to each other. And then agents of influence, people of means, you know, people, I know there's a lot of people, at least back in the 80s. See, they knew I just did that. Oh my goodness. Maybe it's not as loud to you as it is to me. People in the, you know, there's the loser survivalist, right? Who are like, yeah, man, I want it all to fall apart because then I will rise and take over and be in power and everyone will respect me for the man that I am. Dude, no, they're not. You know those guys who are politicians now? They're going to be politicians then, too. Oh, yeah. People in power seek power. And in the main, especially in the initial stages, those are the people who are going to gather the power to them. You know, it'll be the city councilman or the mayor or the, I doubt governors. I think that's too big. But county leadership, the judge or whatever, and they'll say, well, you know, blah, and everyone's used to looking up to this person anyway and listening to them and letting them set policy, and they'll say, you know, I think what we ought to do is, and people will do it. And what does a leader do? Holy goodness. I wonder if I can throw a rock that far. As Sister Kate says, no one's walking down here without them going off, so that's cool. They're going to get the people around them anyway. And then under them, there will be clans, family units that come together, maybe with a couple neighbors and tribes and mags and dun-dun-dun. These are going to form. And then there will be interaction in and amongst the tribes. And unfortunately, it's already happening here too. I mean, it's already happening now. Criminals are going to start getting more criminal. Crimes are going up. Burglaries, simple assaults, things like that are going up because they have realized, it's in the news now, police aren't responding. And if they're not going to stop us from doing what we want to do, we're going to do it. And so those people are rising. They'll get bolder and draw more members, become more of a problem. And then that'll force all those of you who have been sitting around not forming mags and teams and crews like I've been telling you for years to do, to join up with whoever. And joining up, and so you'll do it for your own safety. People, I said it before, I'll say it again, people are going to be in a tribe one way or another. Or dead. And I want you to do well. I really do want you to do well. They shut up. What's that mean? I want you to do well. And so falling in with a haphazard tribe because it's like, oh, well, I got to be with somebody. I might as well be with these guys is not ideal. The ideal is forming the people who have the same values you do, forming up with them now. You all need to get over yourselves, your little egos, your little idiosyncrasies about, well, I want this and I want that and he thinks that and she thinks that and she said that and that. Get over that and figure out there's going to be the other out there and they're coming for you. Now, can't we all just get along? In some cases, heck no. So tribes are coming. Economic harsh times, war, tribes. What to do? Some of this I've said before. But you know, a lot of you, and I appreciate your words. I do. Believe me. Believe me when I tell you. A lot of you have said, hey, thank you, PJ, for what you and SK have done for years. You've convinced me, and I'm better off now than I was then. Well, good. That's why I do it. One thing I get frustrated about is your failure to get with others and form crews. People who come together in times of trouble. You need to get over your consumerist mentality. I want my stuff, it's mine. I don't want to share. I don't want to be together. I don't want to give up of my time. I don't want you living here. I want to live on my own. All that. You better start thinking ahead. Because I get frustrated that y'all aren't. You're not forming crews. Not in the main. You're not. You're getting together once a month or something for a Viking meetup. And that's fun, and it's good as far as it goes. But how's that helping you now? The Viking meetups you went to. How's that assisting you if all of a sudden who is it? Who are we using? The Leroy Jenks gang? Whatever. Starts picking off houses in your area. And you're worried they're coming to your house. How's that Viking meetup group working for you? Or not, right? The purpose of the Viking meetup groups is to meet people and then form a crew, otherwise known as a MAG, a mutual assistance, a team. Some of you have. I know some of you who have come together in one place. And that's what it's all about. It's about proximity. Somebody asked me on here, and I answered a little bit, how close if people all move into the same area, how close do they have to be when things get bad? If you can't shoot a bad guy off their front porch, they're not close enough. If you can't go borrow a cup of sugar on foot for a recipe you're making, they're not close enough. So you see where this gets to? Having your group where people drive an hour, even 20 minutes, they drive 20 minutes to get to a meeting site. No, you guys have to have a plan to live in the same village. It's a good movie, by the way, The Village. M. Night Shyamalan. You're going to have to do that. So you got to figure that out. How are you going to do that? One way is trailers. For those of you who can afford, heck, anybody can afford a trailer. A McDonald's employee flipping burgers can afford a trailer. I know because I bought two. I lived in one that I paid $300 for 2.5 years. $300. And then I bought another one for, I think, $250. I got the friend's price on the first one. And I ended up giving that one to Brother Chris. Now, I had to put more work into them after I bought them. But trailers. People drag a trailer onto your place for the duration of the event and live in it. Another concept, they're actually more expensive than a used trailer in many cases without the amenities, but a nice wall tent, you can stand up in and stuff like that. Guys and gals, it's time to get serious about this stuff. All right. So, economic downturn. What do you need? Food, shelter, right? I mean, why do you work, right? You go to work to make your money, to eat your bread. Man cannot live by bread alone. But you go to work to make money. In the main, that's not why most people work. But if you break it down to the basics, you go to work, you give of your time, of yourself, you get compensated for that, and then with that money, you eat and you live in a place out of the rain, the cold, the heat. The rest is gravy, right? So think about that. Where are you going to live? What are you going to eat? If you've got that sorted, if you're not sleeping in the rain tonight and you had a meal that filled your belly, life's okay. The rest is details. So one, you have to ensure that you can stay in your place. If you're renting, you are at the whim of the landlord. If you're buying a house, try to pay it off. I don't understand these people who get like 3 and 4 second mortgages on their house just to have extra cash. It's using your house to, to enhance your life. No, it's using your house to go into more debt so that you can go to Cabo. It's dumb. To the extent that you can, try and pay off your house. That's hard easy for you to say. Now I don't even have a job. I know, you should have done it a long time ago. Sorry. Oh, my dogs are after something. What else can you do? MD Creekmore. I'm subscribed to his channel. I bought his book without knowing who he was. If you look up MD Creekmore, his book is like Dirt Cheap Bug Out Retreat or something like that. He had some good ideas in there. They weren't perfect, but they were good ideas. And you just need to get yourself a place and put a little house on it. You don't need the house you're in now. I'm telling you, trust me, after living in a 7-foot wide, 17-foot long trailer for 2.5 years, after also having lived in 5,000 square foot, Spanish Villa looking mansions with a wall around it and fruit trees and all that stuff in a foreign country, I've lived in nice places. You don't need that stuff, man. What you need is security and freedom. And if you want that, that comes with self-responsibility. So, start thinking about your housing situation. I cashed in my 401k. Paid significant penalties and all that stuff to do it. And bought 2x4s and built my very modest home with it. That's what I did. So think about that depression, setting yourself up for food. Food. Grow food. I'm going to hit this for a while. Grow food. Produce food. Figure it out. How are you going to feed yourself when Walmart doesn't have any food in the or the grocery store, wherever you go, IGA, Piggly Wiggly, whatever. It either doesn't have any food or you certainly can't afford the food that's in there. What are you going to eat? What are you going to feed your people? All of a sudden, living out in the boonies where people live in bad single-wide trailers, bunch of rednecks out there, man, bunch of poor people, all they do is make meth, which isn't true. Living out there where you can actually have some goats and some chickens, and the rain doesn't rain on you, and you can grow a garden in the backyard, all of a sudden, that doesn't seem so horrible. You got to think ahead. You got to act before the masses do. So there's that. Grow food. I came up with a phrase that food security is a personal responsibility. Food security is a personal responsibility. It's not the government's job to make sure you're fed. It's not Trump's job to make sure you're fed. It's your job. It's your job to make sure you're fed. Figure it out. So there's that. War. See, everybody's, I can't get N95 mask. I can't find gloves anywhere. Okay, well, you should have had a robust stock of that stuff anyway in your medical supplies. Put that aside. Are you ready for war? What are you going to do if a city gets nuked? What are you going to want? I need a gas mask. I need a shelter. I need to start thinking ahead. Man, you got to think ahead. Don't ever rest on your laurels with preparedness. You have to think, what's the next thing coming? What's war going to look like? What if it's on our land? What if crime rises to the point that it's basically civil war? What am I going to need? How am I going to have to set up my land? Do I need a gate? Do I need fencing? Do I need security lights? Do I need people living with me? The answer to those questions is yes. Yes. Do I need a response plan? Yes. What are you going to need for that? Start thinking about it. I've told people before, I tell people so many things. Some people listen, some people don't. Boots. I talked to you the other day about gloves, right? I thought one pair of gloves was enough until I actually started living this lifestyle. Boots, good boots, and the cheapest good boots that I've been able to find are combat boots. Bates, Belleville, things like that. They're tough, they're battle proven, and they're cheaper than like buying Danners and stuff. Right now, living your posh little life, you don't think you need good boots. I'm telling you, boots are important. Get a couple pairs of boots, put them aside. All right, so there's that. Tribes. What do you need to do about tribes? It's hard now, isn't it? Social distancing. How are you going to form relationships now? Well, you should have listened to PJ when he told you to start doing this stuff. Oh, I can't find anybody. Everybody around me is an idiot. If everybody around you is an idiot, I have a potential observation. How to win friends and influence people. If you can't walk up to a stranger and establish rapport, get along with them, you need help. It's okay. Most people do. A place to start is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Read it. You can probably get it used on Amazon for like next to nothing. You got nothing to do. You're supposed to be on social isolation now anyway. Read some books. You have to start getting together with people. And honestly, the best way the most probable way for you to form tribe, mag, crew, is to start with your kin, if you live near them, and or, there's an and in there, and or your neighbors, the people who live right around you. You got to work on that. I know you don't like your neighbor. I know she's a, and he's a, bad words. You better work it out, because when the marauders come, in whatever form they come, the marauders are going to be the other, and your neighbor is going to be part of the us. Start working on that. Unless you can gather people of like mind and they all move to your area and they all decide they're coming to live with you. Yeah, that's fine too. But the easiest way is usually kinship groups, and neighbors. And again, you can include the two. Please start thinking about that. Spend some time. Get off the electronic stimulus. Just put a blank piece of paper and a pencil in your hand. Quiet. Turn off the radio. Turn off the TV. Listen to that. And think, how am I going to do this? It may not be you staying where you are. It might be you going to Aunt Mabel's house or Cousin Bob's house or something like that. You're going to need people. You're going to need people. You're going to need people. All right. That's what to do. It's 30 minutes. I'm going to let you go. I appreciate y'all. I care about y'all. This is just the start of what's coming. It's past time to get serious. I'll see you out there.